Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Core Bike Chat with me, John Underhill, and
me, Aidan King, again.
Thank you for the 2 followers and watchers that watched episode 1.
We're more than 50 views, I think.
50 views?
Yeah, when I looked this morning.
Must be 50 crazy people in the world.
Yeah, one of those was me.
Yeah, and maybe 3 of them me. But thank you for everyone who has watched so far. For those of you that don't know what Core Bike Chat is, it is a podcast about cycling in Devon based around community, not about sponsors and gear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Although we might like some sponsors and some gear. But.
Yeah, and some donations of like frames or bikes would be nice. But.
Excellent, yes. Frames and bikes and wheels.
Yeah.
Cassettes.
Yeah. Whole bikes.
Car keys.
Let's not go with that.
Could tell you a story about Aidan and his car keys, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, they've gone on a holiday. That's what we need to say.
Yeah. Aidan, you're looking very wet. What's going on?
Well, it's raining.
It's raining again.
Yeah. Again, it's rest day at the tour, and that means it's rest day for me because I don't want to get wet.
Rest day, and it's raining.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you this wet was at the National Cycle Show, which we went to.
Yeah, we won't call it the other name. We'll stick with the National Cycle Show, which was
probably best.
Yeah, underwhelming, I think is one word for it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think the problem was as well was Aidan. So Aidan and I went to the National Cycle Show together this year in Birmingham a few months ago.
Yeah.
And we rocked up and we saw Matt Stevens.
Yeah.
And went and said hello to Matt Stevens.
And it went downhill from there.
And it literally went downhill from there.
Yeah, a very brave man in terms of fashion sense.
Very.
Yeah.
It's a very,
Pink shoes and white socks is a new one.
If I can, I'll flash some pictures up of us with him.
Yeah. Here.
Notice that in order for Matt to look like he's in frame with Aidan, he stood on his tiptoes.
I was nice to him on Instagram. I cropped that bit of the photo out.
Yeah. But Matt was lovely, and I think one of the things we asked him was, which was probably the most important thing to ask him, was how nice was Tadej Pagacar when they filmed the cafe ride?
Yeah. It's a good cafe ride.
It was a good cafe ride.
Yeah.
And Matt just confirmed that Tadej was just as nice as he was on camera, if not nicer.
Yeah.
And I think that's just awesome because he came across as such a lovely chap.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really good. And he helped run it and host it for me. So to take time out of his busy day to say hello to the massive queue of people he had. Well, us two and one other one there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Matt was brilliant. But the cycle show wasn't fantastic. It wasn't really what we were expecting. We probably should have done some research before we went.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there were some good brands there. But they weren't there as independent. They were there through distributors and that was about it. There was lots of food stalls and birdwatch stalls and
charities, which we need charity stalls, but there was quite a lot of them.
And they weren't really cycling related.
No, it's a shame because I think obviously we'd gone along thinking it could be fun, and
it was a good day though.
It was. Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed spending time messing around and having a laugh, and looking at some certain stuff. So we saw some really good kit there.
Yeah.
But I think having just watched like Eurobike, I think we need to up our game for our next.
Yeah, we'll go to Roulette next, shall we?
Our next big day out.
Yeah.
We'll take some cameras.
Yeah.
Microphones.
Do a podcast live. I'll put my phone on silent.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. He says he hasn't done the same. But yeah, I think we'll try and get to Roulette and then we'll do some coverage there.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good. I think like one of the things that I was really impressed by, which I'd wanted to see for a while, was the J Laverick Aston Martin bike.
Yes.
Because that was just...
expensive.
Well, you could only get one if you bought an Aston Martin.
Yeah, so it's an expensive bike.
Very expensive. But it was pretty cool to see it.
Yeah.
And see
the finishing detail on it was insane.
And what J Laverick can do in their titanium bikes.
And I mean, me doing mountain bike and stuff, it was quite cool to see Atherton bikes there.
Yeah.
And that was literally about it. You had a very long conversation with someone about some U-Dog shoes.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at shoes.
A dog. U-Dog.
U-Dog it was. And shoes are such an interesting thing to talk about we won't go too deep down into that rabbit hole today, but from my other hat as a professional independent bike fitter, shoes can literally make or break a bike fit, and they are the single most underinvested in piece of equipment for most cyclists that haven't realised that point at which you transfer power from you to the bike is just the most important thing, and it is the foundation of any good bike fit. So always looking at shoes that are on offer to see what companies are coming up with, and I think there's some fantastic offerings out there. There's so many different brands now that are starting to realise that what requirements there are in shoes. So I think it'll be really interesting, exciting to see over the coming months what comes out, because there's some pretty cool stuff that we have lined up to show you all when it arrives.
We could do with Mr. Foot Person that we know as a guest, couldn't we?
Let's not call him that, but yeah, he might come on, so we can have a chat with him.
That'd be because I mean, I've only spoke to him for about 10 minutes after a TT, and like the knowledge of not just feet but shoes, and I think he's very experienced in terms of shoes.
He has a lot of pairs of shoes.
Amount that he has,
yeah, and that's why. And he's a very good cyclist.
Yeah,
and he's a very aware cyclist as well, and was at a very good level, and still is at a very good level. And I think he really notices the difference in shoes and the importance in them. So he's an advocate for finding the pair of shoes that fit properly and feel nice. But yeah, I always spend time looking at shoes because I just think it's such an important part of bike fit. I'm always interested to see what's going on, what people are coming out with, and trying to look at things which are not just the right thing, but also aesthetically pleasing, because certain brands help but don't necessarily look that great. But
like the Law One.
Like the Law One, it's that's an interesting shoe.
Yeah, but the Law 2 looks much better.
Yeah, the Law 2 does look a lot better, and hopefully in the next few episodes you might find that we have a pair here.
Right there.
Right, possibly right there, or maybe there, or over there. But it'd be great to have a look at them when they come in.
Yeah, because I think that's a really interesting concept, having shoes made to your feet, because obviously, everyone's foot's different and everyone wears different shoes, but having something that's designed to your feet is only going to be an upside. Definitely,
and it's such an interesting concept anyway, and what the shoe's trying to do to your foot and how it transfers power. So to actually get a pair and try them will be really interesting, but also the whole process of having your feet scanned and then sending that off, and then having a custom pair of shoes made from that.
Yeah.
Knowing how make or break a pair of shoes is, and not only that everyone's people's feet are different, like mine and yours, Aidan. Obviously, yours are much longer and narrower. Not obviously, but they are. But also, like, my left foot's different to my right foot.
Well, and so is mine.
And everyone's is, and everyone's feet have done different things and grown in a certain way. And so to actually have a custom pair of shoes made for you is a really interesting concept. And I think it's just 3D printing and cycling is going to be where it's going to go, because those 5 contact points on a bike, handlebars, seat, and your shoes, pretty much are that's where I can see it going.
It was quite satisfying seeing you spin around on a little turntable to scan your feet.
Yeah, Aidan helped
Which
me.
you would have seen on the social stories.
Yeah, we'll put some footage of that in here too, or maybe when we talk about the shoes a bit more. But yeah, Aidan helped me by pressing the buttons. It's really hard to scan your own feet because you have to stand in a set way, and then you can't do that and press the buttons. So Aidan came down and pressed the buttons for me whilst I stood on a turntable.
Oh, not useful.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's going to be asking Aidan this week, where's your bike?
Well, it's not broken, which is normally why it's here. But no, it is tucked up in the dry.
Tucked up. Nice.
Yeah, waiting for a new cassette to arrive.
New cassette.
Yeah.
Why do you need a new cassette?
Because I ride too much.
You do. You ride loads.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, Aidan, how many hours a week are you doing at the moment?
On average, like 9 or 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. Especially recently, it's been more. It's been sort of 12, 13 hours a week.
Yeah. And I know we touched on your TT time last week, and then we touched on you're actually not a TT rider but an endurance athlete, really.
Yeah, less of the athlete, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say endurance cyclist.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, but yeah, you're more endurance, so that comes
that's
with
what I prefer.
Yeah,
And that's what I enjoy more.
which I think when you look at Aidan's bike, it's quite evident when you look at his components. They've been used a lot, which is great because that's what the bike's for.
My cassette's only done 18,000 kilometres.
How long?
It'll be 2 years in October, so in 1.5 years.
It's not too bad.
No.
But quite often we need to do things to Aidan's bike because it's worn out.
Yeah.
And
chains, I tend to forget that they need replacing until I noticed them riding them that they're stretched.
Rather than checking them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So so Aidan is an endurance cyclist, just to keep him happy.
Yeah.
And that's a different way of looking at. So I would class myself as just a go out and enjoy riding rider at the moment. Got some things going on, and then my training will start to ramp up sort of a couple of weeks' time, end of the month, which is a really weird time to start it. But
got to start somewhere.
You do, and there's no time like the present. And I always usually start training in the winter, and it feels like the winter at the moment, so I won't be too upset out and about or inside here.
Didn't yesterday though. Yesterday was lovely.
Yeah, it was nice, but
it's like the UK weather is bipolar.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Can't decide what it wants to do.
So with you being endurance, that adds in a whole extra load of different considerations, and just like me who goes out to cycle to cafes with YouTubers or Instagram people who watched the video and left a comment, and I can confirm I have evidence of me putting my name in a message to you, Amy, so thank you for the comment and I will send it to you. But
I left a nice reply to our comment on the YouTube video. So.
I did see that. Yeah. I think I then screenshotted the conversation and sent it to you.
Yeah, you did.
Where it says John, but that's not a problem. I'm not bitter and twisted. But also, if you have back down, you need to get you and Kyle on this to chat with you both, because you'd both be brilliant, and I think that'd be a good thing to do.
Yeah, because the way they do it is very. Like them themselves are very different. Like how Amy got into it and vlogging herself, and you know, if you watch her older videos where it's like when she done the Everesting, like we spoke quite a lot when she done the Everesting because I've done a couple, and you know, the way her videos come across is like she's recording herself whilst riding, but it's not. It was Kyle in the background, whereas now Kyle's still in the background on Amy's videos, but more in the front. But in terms of like endurance riding, I think Amy is an endurance athlete.
Oh, definitely.
Because you know, like the amount of audaxes she does and stuff, and when she's done an Everesting as well, and I mean that's not an easy task to do.
It was evident to see cycling with them that they do a lot of riding, and then bearing in mind they were off to do the Nello the following day, which is 100 miles.
And they rode in the morning of and the after.
They were like they work in kilometers, so they were like, well, we're going to round it up to 200k, so we're going to go out before and after just to make up the time so that it increases what they're doing. And they just flew, and you could see they got miles and miles in their legs.
Yeah.
And they're lovely people too, so
yeah,
it makes it all nicer. So Amy and Kyle, next time we're in Devon, or if we go to Derby,
we could do one of that, couldn't we?
We could do, yeah. We could come and say hello.
Yeah.
But so back to you and your endurance considerations for training. What you're putting in a big amount of hours, that must have its toll on you and your body and your nutrition, and more importantly, how could you sit on your bike for that amount of time?
About sitting on the bike is quite funny, because you ask any non-cyclist and they look at your saddle and go, there's no padding, there's nothing, how can you sit on that for hours? But it's it's a weird concept, because you know, some people that don't ride a lot, or even some people that, you know, ride 3 hours a week and do like an hour ride on the weekend or a 2 hour ride on the weekend, the idea of riding for, you know, 6, 12, 24 hours is absolutely nuts. But it becomes more of a mental game, I think, than a physical game. Although I done a 24-hour ride and my knees didn't work afterwards, but mentally it was challenging before it was physically challenging.
Yeah.
But
That was before you bike fit, just like to add.
Yeah, was it? Yeah. That might have been the day I bent my saddle.
Yeah. On the wonk.
Yeah, on the wonk. But yeah, it's a mental game. It's an eating race. I think that's.
So what tactics do you employ in your mind then to keep you going when it's hard?
Have a long Spotify playlist with some amazing podcasts.
Yeah.
Some, like cool bikes. Yeah, no, it's a weird one because it varies. Like doing Mallorca 312 was very different to the 24-hour ride I'd done. Not only because I'd done the 24-hour ride in this country in February and it was cold and miserable, but like I was on my own. Like I had some people call me throughout the ride and stuff, and people checking in. But you know, in Mallorca, you're there with 8,000 people, and you're always chatting to new people, or like with the people you're riding with and stuff like that. And it also varies because I want, like with stuff like 312, I wanted to do a good time. Like that was my ambition, was to do a respectable time.
Yeah.
Whereas some people would ride it to finish it, and I think that's the two different things with like endurance riding. It's different for everyone. You know, it's no different in theory to racing a 10-mile time trial where you know you're only really racing yourself, and you give yourself goals and achievements that you want to achieve, and it's up to you to achieve those. But for me, doing a 100-mile ride in 5 hours, whereas other people would want to do a 100-mile ride and finish it. We had one of the guys I'd done the Nello with, his cousin came along, and he's not ridden. He rides a lot, but he hasn't ridden much recently, and he's not local, so he was coming down with the mindset that the Nello was going to take 14 hours to do, and they're doing it so 5.5. And he was like, I've never done 100 miles like that fast. I just can't believe. And you know, we stopped for food and stuff as well. And it's just, it can be really overwhelming. It could be an overwhelming thing of riding like 100 miles, 12 hours, 24 hours, whatever the distance all the time. But I think it's just breaking it down into like bite-sized pieces. You know, working 50-kilometre chunks or whatever. Yeah,
definitely from my own experience of cycling and going to new places, I like to know where I'm going. And if I don't know the roads, or if I don't feel confident to like figure out where I am, it can put me off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I've always gone, if I'm going somewhere new, I generally sign up to an event to cycle it. So there's people to help me and whatnot. But I think that's, like, if I'm being completely honest, I think that's a me thing, and I'm just worried about, I mean, I've got a phone, I've got money, I've got a bike, it's well maintained. It's more like a security thing, or there's that element of it as well.
I think that's the good thing about, especially in the UK, we are quite good at like sportives and events, especially across like the UK. Like last year I went to Yorkshire. I've never been to Yorkshire. I went up on my own, done the Struggle Dales event, and I had no clue where I was going. But you know, the route's organised for you. It's all signposted. There's marshals there. There's, you know, a broom wagon if something did happen, and like it's as safe and prepared as you know it can be. It's very, very different to going to Yorkshire and just going on a bike.
Yeah,
and going on a bike ride.
I definitely think that's, but I think it's a real like anxiety for me. If I'm really boiling it down, I can get quite anxious if I'm going somewhere I don't know.
Yeah,
because I just feel insecure really about what's going to happen if I get stuck, who's going to pick me up, what if I don't feel very well, all of those, if I run out of food, which is complete. If you talk to myself about it, it's a bit daft because you can go buy food. I've got money. I've got a phone. I've got.
But it's one of those mental barriers, isn't it? It's no different than, you know, if you're riding through the night and it's chucking it down and you just want to go to a hotel, and like at the end of the day, it's just a mental barrier. But it's not for someone to tell you how to overcome that. That's something within you that only like you know you yourself can do it.
I think it's really interesting that I've only ever considered that maybe I struggle with that, but maybe lots of other people do too. and it's probably not one to be afraid of. So maybe this year I'll try and cycle some places I don't cycle very often.
And I mean, we touched on it last week, but I think that can help with that again is social media and Instagram.
Yeah.
Like when I went up to Yorkshire to the event was on Sunday. On the Saturday, I met up with someone that I know through Instagram. I just put on my stories. Anyone in Yorkshire wanted to show me around, and we ended up with like 8 of us riding around, and that helped because you know we went to a cafe, but people knew where the cafe were.
Yeah.
Like, they knew the towns, they knew the cities, they knew the roads. So I stayed at the back.
But it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, massively. Like I don't go very well. I do, but not very often do I go somewhere completely unknown.
Yeah.
And just ride. I'll at least like get a route off of someone that I know. I go to Wales quite a bit.
Boy,
Clydesdale.
saw you in Wales the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were at a pub with some family.
Was I?
You were. Probably forgotten now. We were off to go to see the Foo Fighters.
Oh yeah. No, I wasn't even drinking. That wasn't the other day.
It was. It's like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was good. For a second there, I was like, I've been to Wales.
But that's the thing. I don't like happily pack myself up and go anywhere in the world on my own. But riding my bike, I'm a little like, I don't know.
There's a whole other risk though, isn't there? You know, you can go on holiday on your own. You can go travelling where you've got hotels and you go out and about. But when you're riding a bike on a road with cars in a country you don't know is a whole other risk.
Yeah, I suppose. Now you're putting me off.
Just go to Mallorca.
Yeah. Well, but I think it just shows the power of community and cycling with other people. And we've not planned to say this at all because we haven't planned to say any of it. But just thinking it through, what you said about meeting up with other people, I think that's the great thing with cycling is you can, if you've got a big social media following like Aidan or Amy, you can post that I'm going to be here and anyone want to go, and then you can just meet new people and they happily show you around.
Even if it's only 1 or 2 people, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you messaged me about Amy and Carl coming down. I couldn't make the ride on the Saturday. But if I could have, I would have.
Yeah. But I mean, even me, I haven't cycled very much this year. I knew where we were going, so that was a bonus because at least I knew to go. You'll go left here and right here, and that's where the cafe.
And they
was.
had no clues here.
Yeah, well, they had a Garmin.
They had to slow down for you.
Yeah, that's what it was. Slowing them down because then they need to get to the cafe.
Yeah, so they knew where to go.
I mean, they had the Garmin with them, and I don't think they really struggle with that sort of thing. I think they're pretty competent at sorting most things out and doing what they needed to do. But it was nice to be able to feel like you're being hospitable and showing someone around your local routes.
Yeah. And it's just inclusive.
Yeah.
There's no, we've come down this ride with you and you're slower than us.
Yeah.
We're going to leave you.
Well, it's a good, when I start my training, I'll get better.
Yeah.
And get to the point where I can feel like I'm not going to slow people down.
No, exactly.
But that's a me thing too. But yeah.
No, it's enjoyable for everyone.
So in terms of actually like sitting on your bike then, podcasts, music,
phone calls. Yeah, especially on
distractions.
Anything to not think about. Oh, I've been on the bike for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Again, like the 312 was a great organised event. And I don't even have my headphones in at all on the 312 because I think unlike an endurance event that you do in the UK or a gravel ride or whatever. Like you ride abroad, there's people from different countries, different cultures. Like it's absolutely insane, like the vast amount of different people that we met.
Yeah.
Like in a day of cycling. There's always people to talk to, and I remember we were going up Col de Femenier, and it was like the first climb on the ride, and the road was absolutely chocker. We were sort of in the first third by the time we got there. And there must have been probably 1,000 cyclists around us riding up this main road because obviously it was a closed road. And there was a guy that sacrificed a water bottle and had a Bluetooth speaker. Yeah. The cycling jukebox he was called. And stuff like that was great because he was sat in the middle of the group, just sat there spinning away, playing all sorts of music, not all English. like some of it don't have a clue, but like
Yeah.
Sweet Caroline and stuff like that. And his jersey, I'm assuming he does quite a lot of stuff like that, because his jersey was like song request for a gel,
Yeah.
or like give me a 10-minute tow and you can have like a whole playlist.
Yeah,
It was,
brilliant.
and it just lifted everyone's moods.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite early on. I could have done with that at like 250 kilometers. But yeah, no, like stuff like that. It wasn't just a ride or a race, depending on how you're looking at it. It was a bit like a festival on wheels. It was really good.
Good. So distractions, and then obviously you're riding that amount of time, you've got to consume enough fluid
Yeah,
and food,
yeah, a lot of food.
and that's quite a lot of food.
Yeah.
How do you plan that then?
Again, it varies on where and what sort of riding you're doing. Normally, if you're doing an endurance ride, like you're not going to be at threshold, or you're not going to be doing max effort attacks up climbs and stuff. So, in terms of like carbohydrate intake, you can kind of drop it off a bit, but not too much, because obviously it depends on how many hours you're doing, and that's where going having a route is good, because you know if there's climbs coming up where you're not going to be able to sit at zone 2 or tempo. So yeah, I mean, I ate a lot of food on the 312. It was 100 grams of carb an hour for 10 hours.
That's so just your pockets overflowing with food at the beginning.
Yeah. But I didn't eat any real food that day either.
No,
It was all sports nutrition stuff.
Sturker.
Lots of Sturker bars and it was like 7 gels, 7 bars, and 6 90-gram packets in my bottles, with the odd electrolyte chucked in.
Yeah, that's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Well, not like safe food, but a lot of nutrition.
Yeah.
And did you obviously I know what you did a little bit, but did you sit down and, like, if you're going to give some advice to people doing something like that, did you sit down and work out the route, work out when you need to take things, or are you looking at it per hour and averaging it, or are you just going, I'm going to take this amount of carbs every so often? Or?
I would definitely work per hour, especially if it's anything over sort of 6 hours, 7 hours. I mean, if it's less than that, chances are it's going to be like a sportive or something like that you're probably going to be pushing a bit more. Sort of anything over 7 hours, I would definitely be looking at like intake per hour.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something, and we touched on it last week, it's not something you should be doing like 4 weeks before the event. No. It should be something that you've been building up to for at least like 5-6 months before it, and because you need to not only be able to eat that much, but you need to train your gut and your body to use that fuel. Yeah. Because otherwise it just sits there and then you end up feeling, and that's when people feel sick or cramp or
need the toilet.
Yeah.
So some advice then would be to train with it just generally. Yeah,
like if throughout your week when you're riding, and I mean anything over 90 minutes, you should be at least thinking about what carbohydrate intake you're having. Yeah. Anything less than that, I mean, what you consume in your day-to-day life would likely cover that. I mean, unless you're doing an hour flat out, then which people don't, because even if you go on a fast group ride, you have rest periods and stuff like that. But yeah, anything over 90 minutes, and you should be at least having like 1 gram of carbs per kilo of body weight. Yeah. An hour.
So is that the maths? Is it 1 gram of carbs per kilo per hour?
Yeah, as a base point.
General rule of thumb.
I go a bit more if I'm doing like a longer event. Yeah. Well, I'm not 100 kilos, but I was 100 grams per hour at the 312, and Dartmoor Classic last year as well was around 90. Yeah. So it's all personal, and I mean, it's about finding what products work for you. Like carbohydrate intake through your bottles, like dissolving it in your water, is a really good way to get carbohydrate in, because I mean, you drink when you're thirsty, and you don't have to spend 2 minutes chewing on food or having to worry about rubbish. It's just there, and you can sip away at it, and it does make it a bit more difficult to monitor or keep an eye on what you're intaking.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're running like a litre bottle, like most people would for like a long endurance ride, you can work on sort of half a bottle an hour and a bar or a gel, depending on what amount of carbs they are. That's why I like the Sturka stuff, because they're 50 grams. A gel is 50 grams and a bar is 50 grams.
It's pretty much works
So
out.
if I've got 90 in my bottle, I have half a bottle and a bar or a gel an hour.
It's a good way of working it.
Yeah.
But you can't, as you said, you can't just go straight into it. You need to train your body to be able to take it on board and then use it rather than make you feel ill. And each brand is different, and each brand has pros and cons, and you need to try them all.
But and that, again, that's not a process of a month before an event.
No.
It can be years of trying different brands. And obviously your body adapts and your body changes. You could be using a brand for ages, and then all of a sudden something in your gut doesn't like it, or especially if you're new to cycling, as you get healthier, your body obviously, as you lose weight or whatnot, like the mitochondria, there we go, in your gut will process foods differently. So what works at one stage might not work for forever.
So you've got to constantly constantly adapt your training. So your training isn't just the sitting on the bike and pedaling and increasing your FTP. It's around fueling and learning what your body needs and when it needs it and how it takes that fuel on board. And
yeah, massively. I think the science of fueling and nutrition now is a lot better than I think it's ever been. Like even in pro racing, you go back like 15 years, well, not even that, 10, 15 years, and it was about being as lightweight as humanly possible and like not eating and just working hard, whereas now like the pros seem to be eating a lot and they still look like there's nothing to them.
Yeah. No, they do eat a lot. And it's really interesting because it's not, unless you watch unless you literally sit and watch a whole stage of the tour and you just watch the highlights where you just dip in and out, you don't see it.
No.
And so it's easy to kind of watch it and go, well, they've not got loads of gels in their back pockets and not drinking all the time.
You also got to remember that they have teammates and team cars.
Oh yeah. When they've got the guys with the food musettes set out and different places stopped.
Yeah, if you, like I say, if you watch, maybe not a sprint stage because they can be quite boring, but if you watch like a full stage of the tour, they're very often there with their musettes around them with eating sandwiches and they eat a lot.
Rice cakes.
Yeah, and probably actually more real food than sports nutrition products. Especially the last couple of tours, Precision Hydration have been a real popular site on the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Well, they've been labelled up as those anyway. Yeah. But
and that's the thing. I think really important to note that, from all elements of Bike Fit, one of the things I hear quite a lot is I want to look like a Tour de France rider, or I don't look like they do on the tour. That's just not possible for all of us. And your body geometry and the way your body's made up and your physiology and how your muscles fire will affect your bike fit dramatically. And the same with how your makeup is as to what nutrition you need and whatnot. So comparing ourselves to tour riders and looking at what they do as a key to what we want to do isn't very good. It's like looking at a Formula One driver and then thinking, why doesn't my Renault Clio go as fast? And
at the end of the day, if you don't look like a Tour de France rider because you're not a Tour de France rider, like even like in local races, like it's not very often you go to a race down Torbay Crit Circuit. You don't have a team car chasing you around. You don't have people giving you bottles by the side of the road. It's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. And it's just so important to think of everyone as an individual, and your own cycling goals should drive what sort of bike you want. What bike you ride, what equipment you have, how much training you do, how much nutrition you need. And so you really need to have a think about what that is before you start going, well, I'm going to ride 100 miles this week in total, but I want to look like Tadej Pagacar.
Yeah, and I guess also, like I do, me along with quite a few people I knew do sort of around 10 hours a week, which sounds like quite a lot. They're doing like 48 hours a week, like when they're not racing.
Yeah.
Like, in a month I'll do like 1,000 kilometers, and this month they're doing almost 4,000 kilometers. It's like completely different level.
Yeah.
Just every day.
So we shouldn't compare ourselves to Tour de France riders, and so we shouldn't copy all the things that they do.
I wouldn't mind a Tour de France rider's salary.
Well, depends which one.
To be fair, any of them.
But whilst we're on Tour de France, yesterday's stage, you and I thought, well, last week you predicted that Vingegaard would win the Tour.
Yeah.
And on Friday night, I messaged you saying, have you seen Pagacar won the stage again today? And you're like, yeah, but tomorrow's Vingegaard's stage. And I don't think I texted you back. So I was like, And
It wasn't Vingegaard's stage.
What happened, Aidan?
Well, I don't know if Vingegaard played it smart or tried attacking Pagacar. I don't think he was attacking Pagacar. For those that have seen it will know what I'm on about. On that final climb, he sat on the front of Pagacar after Jorgensen peeled off and didn't look back for about 6.5 kilometres.
Yeah.
Because I guess he knew Pagacar was going to be there. But I think he was attacking Remco.
Yeah.
I don't think he was attacking Pagacar. I think for Jonas, the idea that he could maybe beat Pogacar's gone, and that's why he didn't look back, because he kind of knew. And then, I mean, it sums it up. As soon as he looked back, Tadej Pogacar went.
Yeah, and looked really strong.
Yeah, and took, 57 seconds into him.
Just on that day.
Yeah. What is it now? It's like 2.5 minutes back, isn't it?
Yeah. So I can't see him losing it now, barring something major going wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jonas was trying to get time on Remco because obviously the last stage is a TT.
Yeah. And I think, you can't take away from Jonas what he's done with being in hospital.
I don't think Jonas is doping anymore.
No, neither do I. I think he had a few good stages.
I don't know. I still think there could be some doping in the peloton across the board.
Possibly. It's difficult to know, though, without being there and seeing, obviously. But I think, as we said last time, even if they are, they're still having to train to be able to. It just allows them to train in a way that gets more after their body. You don't dope and then become...
No, talking of doping, have you seen about the latest rumours of the carbon monoxide inhaling?
Is that why you carry all those CO2 pumps in the back of your saddlebag? I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I just know what I've read across a couple of sites. But there's a device that stimulates altitude training. It's one use and its main use. It just helps to increase oxygen in the body. Yeah.
But the same device a person can inhale carbon monoxide to... I don't know why you would. It sounds very...
science there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very dangerous, but there's got to be some sort of science there. And it does, similar sort of thing. It stimulates your body to produce more oxygen to remove that carbon monoxide.
More red blood cells.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I wouldn't recommend looking into it or doing it because it can be quite dangerous. And those little canisters are not good for that.
No, you normally see chavs in parks with balloons and those canisters.
You certainly do. But I definitely know there's some tech out there. There's a really good bike fitter called Steve Hogg in Australia, who everyone who's interested in bike fitting should go and read his blog. It's fascinating reading, but he was working with a company that had a product where you would only nose breathe and it would restrict the amount of oxygen going through your nose to simulate high altitude training when you're riding.
So that's similar to like taping your mouth.
And just reducing the size of the amount, your nose basically, so the amount of oxygen that can get through is less. Thought being that you're simulating high altitude training because you can't breathe as well, which would sound daft, but your body gets used to it, responds to it, adapts to be able to cope with it, and when you ride without it, you find that you can ride stronger because your body's got more oxygen at this level.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole thing of altitude training isn't a new thing.
No.
I mean, it's been around for yonks.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, well, not just cyclists, but athletes in general will sleep in like altitude tents and stuff,
Yep.
aren't they, to stimulate what it would be like at altitude. And like our records are all, well, the fast ones anyway, are done at altitude because
when it just
air's
makes sense.
thinner and it's faster.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you can simulate that at home, and you're really into your training, obviously you probably need to seek some advice from a doctor before you do it.
That's
And work with someone. Yeah, not just tape your nose up and try. Please don't do that if you're listening or watching. Don't get any ideas. But yeah, I can see some benefits in it, and it's certainly cheaper than flying to Tenerife and cycling around Mount Td.
And inhaling carbon monoxide.
Yeah, don't do that either. Say no to carbon monoxide inhalation, please. Don't do it. Certainly don't say you learnt it from Aidan on the Core Bike Chat podcast.
It's just weird though, and it shows how times are changing with science and tech and people trying all sorts to be. But you know, it's like back in the day when athletes were taking tramadol to boost their performance so they can feel pain.
Well, I think like original Tour de France, they'd get to the bottom of a climb and rush into a cafe and buy some whiskey.
Yeah.
So they didn't feel the pain as they cycled up.
Yeah. Well, they were alcoholics.
Yeah, well, a bit both maybe. But yeah, it's just the way this sport goes, and it's such an interesting thing because there's always, as the rules get harder and stricter to follow and the testing of all these potential dopings become better, teams are finding and cyclists are finding a way around it or finding new ways to try and push the envelope to get the most out of the riders so they can win. Yeah.
I guess it's no different than, well, it is different, but it's like when US Postal Team had to, there is a point, but like when, after the whole Festina scandal, you know, US Postal Team all of a sudden had to find a way to not get caught. And it's no different now because obviously testing's come a long way, but riders and teams have to find, you know, it's no different than the rules on aerodynamics.
Yeah.
And getting around stuff like that. And not having fins on your bikes, but you can have airwave channels on your track down.
You might be able to have a aero nose piece if they don't.
Yeah.
If they don't ban it. If you're talking about doing.
Those glasses do look ridiculous.
They do, but if they make you go faster when you
take a drink, you're going to be like a cell.
Yeah, but at least if you spill it, it'll go not down your nose. Interesting suntan. You look like an owl. Can't see it catching on personally, but
no,
you never know with these things.
And it's like aero road helmets, isn't it? And now like half covering the ears.
Yeah. One Cavs €1,000 aero socks.
Yeah,
and then the no pins shoe covers to cover up your boas.
Yeah,
for slightly more aero gains.
No pins do aero number holders for numbers on your sleeves because at UK Nationals you have to have sleeve numbers.
Yeah,
so they have number sleeves. And
it's interesting because we've all, like cycling shoes, back to shoes again, we've all moved away from having laces and moved to boas, but obviously they're a lump that sticks out. There's an argument that laces are better in a way.
Until an open's made.
The shoe covers.
Yeah,
but it's worth looking into if that's the level you're at and what you want to do. Absolutely no benefit to me going out cycling 45 miles with anyone, but if you're racing and you're looking for any additional help you can get, definitely worth having a look
like
at.
shaving your legs.
Yeah.
It all matters.
Yeah. And back to the Tour and really expensive, crazy stuff. Sir Mark Cavendish rolled in yesterday, just 14 minutes of the time cut left.
Yeah, he didn't look very good, did he?
No, he looked like me the other weekend.
What, at the top of my head?
Yeah. Dead. No, but do you think he's got another stage win in him? Do you think that's why he's sticking
I think there's only one sprint stage left, really, isn't there?
Yeah. Do you reckon he's going to go for it?
Well, I think he'll go for it if he can. I don't think he'll have a lead out.
No.
Because he kind of just makes his own, but it'd be good to see him have one more. Just
you predicted he wouldn't finish last week.
There's still a week to go.
Yeah, true.
And it's all mountains.
Yeah.
So
it's some heavy days.
I mean, he's getting nearer and nearer the time cut.
Yeah.
It would be good to see him at least up there. And I think he will retire then. I think that'll be it done. But it'd be good to not see Jasper Philipsen in green going into Nice this year. Paris.
Well, fingers crossed. We're sending you all of our best wishes, Sir Mark.
Yeah.
So please
win.
Yeah, if you're listening, of course you are.
Yeah. I'll tag him in it on Instagram.
Yeah, he's definitely going to watch it then, isn't he? Oh dear.
We'll put him as a thumbnail.
Yeah. Sir Mark.
A special guest.
Yeah.
That'll get some views.
That would do until everyone's like, because he's not on it.
Just block him.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
No, it would be good to see him get another win, or at least be up there. If his chain can stay on.
Yeah,
that's probably he's got £1,000 aero socks, but his £150 chain can't stay on the bike.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because he crossed the line and it snapped.
Yeah,
and that's just absolutely mental.
Yeah,
I think the more interesting thing of that sprint was the I can't remember who it was, and that's really bad. Was the crash just further back? And
Mads Pedersen went down in the end. The Cofidis rider bunny hopped him.
Bunny at 60 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
which is just insane.
Whilst Pedersen was sliding across the floor.
Yeah, this is absolutely techers.
Yeah,
it's mad technique.
Yeah, that's bike handling.
That is bike handling.
Right there. And I think Bimmy Gourmet is pretty much sealed the green jersey.
Yeah,
because he took sprint points yesterday. He got relegated after he cut up Michael Matthews.
Yeah,
but he did still take points, and Philipsen wasn't there at all. So
it'd be interesting to see. Rest day today. It's Monday today, filming this.
Yeah,
and so we've got 6 days left.
Yeah,
should be interesting.
Yeah, Jonas isn't going to win at all.
No, I don't think so now.
Not unless something really drastic happens.
I just can't see it.
Or Remco does the TT of his life and beats them all by 7 minutes and wins it all.
I can't see that. I really can't see
that.
I
think the interesting battle is for fourth, because I think Almeida's currently fourth. Rodriguez is fifth, but there's not much in it between them.
No.
I mean, Rodriguez could kind of save Ineos a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot that the real interesting part of the tour is fourth and fifth, not first, second, third. And
the guy in fourth is currently one of the head domestiques for Tadej Pagacar.
Yeah.
And Adam Yates is in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, which is just
UAE.
Well, it's just a good team, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they clearly know what they're doing, and they've got a very strong set of riders.
Yeah. When people aren't going over on COVID.
Yeah. Well, that's Tom Pidcock, isn't it?
Well, quite a lot, haven't they?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's back. It's definitely around more.
Well, it's quite funny because Pagacar had COVID 2 weeks before the tour.
He's giving it to everyone. That's how he's won.
Yeah, or he's immune to getting it again during the tour.
Yeah. It's mental. What do you think he's going to do after the tour if he wins it? Do you think he's going to
go and win the Vuelta?
You reckon?
Yeah.
Go for all 3 in a year?
Yeah.
I think he'll win it too.
Yes. Which
is mental.
Yeah. I mean, the people that normally go to the Vuelta are the people that go to or went to the Giro.
Yeah.
And he absolutely annihilated that as well. It was the women's Giro has finished now as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what she's called. Lisa Borghini won it by 1 second.
Wow.
Oh no, sorry. Going into the last stage, she was winning by 1 second. Yeah, she won by 21 seconds.
Okay.
Over Lotto
Kopecky. Yeah. Who's been a really strong rider.
Yeah. And her thighs are like the size of 2 of mine.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great to see the women's cycling coming on as well.
Yeah. And they had an African stage winner as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Africa's thriving in it at the minute with Bimmy and I don't know who it was.
No, we'll have a look.
Yeah.
We should know more.
Yeah. But it was good.
Yeah.
I tend to watch the highlights of the women's, partly because there's not full coverage.
Yeah. And the coverage of the tour has been really good this year.
Yeah, a lot better than I thought it was going to be, considering I normally watch it on GCN, and that's not happening.
ICV4 had
David Miller knows his stuff, doesn't he?
He certainly does. Well, he's literally been there, done that, and tried it all.
Literally.
Yeah. So he knows what's going on. It's been really good coverage.
It's been an exciting tour.
Yeah, I thought Pagacar was going to cycle away with it, so to speak. And for a few days it was kind of like, oh, Vingegaard's back.
Yeah, the first week was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And then it went to the gravel. And I mean, that's where, we touched on it last week, but that's where Pagacar comes into his own because, the one-day classics and the Strade Bianchi and the monuments, like Pogacar's also been up there. So, I mean, we all talk about peaking for racing and stuff, but I think he just seems to peak from January until about October.
I think it's a different level maybe, but I wouldn't know what his training regime is. Or I mean, allegedly does loads of Zone 2 training.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. His Zone 2 being most of our
thresholds.
Yeah. But yeah. And he's a big advocate for Bike Fit.
Yeah.
And
nutrition.
Yeah. And cups.
Yeah. He just seems like a genuinely nice guy as well.
Yeah. So hats off to you, Tadej. We'll get you on one day.
Yeah. You'll be sat here.
Yeah. With Jeff at the back there.
I forgot about Jeff.
We got Jeff today.
Balancing away there.
There he's lit. That's Jeff, everyone, for those who don't know. Jeff will be with us in every episode moving forward.
Yeah. In a different disguise.
Or position. And
we could play Spot the Jeff.
Spot the Jeff. That will be what we're...
Leave it in the comments. Where do you think Jeff is?
Where you think Jeff will be next week? Yeah. Or what are we wearing? If anything at all. Because he's a naturalist, is our Jeff.
Bit of a naturist.
Bless him.
But that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's...
That's on endurance.
So the podcast, I mean, we said we were going to put it out every 2 weeks, but we might have put one out 1 week and then one sooner because I'm off to have an operation this week and I'll be out of action for a little while. And so then we'll put some more out afterwards.
Yeah.
But so apologies for the blatant lies in our scheduling.
Better than going the other way. And
having not doing anything for a while. All of you 10 followers would be upset.
When's it going on Spotify?
So I need to do some work to create the account. And so this is and then put it on there, and then it'll be on Spotify. But there should be 2 episodes on episode 1, episode 2 straight away. So that'd be exciting.
Top tip of the week. I think we should start doing that.
Top tip of the week.
I've got one for this week.
Go on then. I'll leave. You've thought about this.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, it's nice you thought about something.
Yeah. Hey, it was my idea to come and record today. Going back to nutrition, for your winter training, whether it's indoors or outdoors, focus on trying to bring in carbohydrate into your riding as you train. In your
outdoor training.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if you're doing a Zone 2 ride, because winter training is the time to be strict.
Yeah.
And Zone 2 indoors is brilliant. Boring, but brilliant and game-changing. So I think that's a real time to focus on it. And I know a few people out there that don't eat on the bike because they can't.
Because it's cold?
No, because they don't like taking hands off.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're fine taking a bottle or indicating, but opening a bar or a jam. And indoor training is another great time to practice that.
Yeah.
Because you can quite literally sit up because you're not moving.
And
so that's a good time to practice.
A couple of things to add to that. When I'm riding in the winter, when I have ridden in the winter, which I was up until Christmas time when we moved house, got a new house, I find it really hard when it's cold to eat. Yeah. Because you've got gloves on and you can't open things, and the practicality of it.
Train indoors.
Yeah, but it's nice to be outside on those odd days where it's not cacking down with rain or grey.
The summer.
Yeah. It's got 3 times a year on the road. Lovely. So that's a real thing because it's cold and my hands hurt and I don't want to eat.
Sturker bars you can smack on your stem and it will come up through the wrapper.
Yeah. I'll have to do a video of you doing that.
There's lots on my Instagram.
Excellent. We'll do
or your knee.
Or your knee. Smack it on your knee.
Does look a bit weird.
Nice.
But they do open.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's all practice.
Maybe that's why you have a leg length discrepancy.
Smacking bars on my knees.
Aidan, that's a Mars bar. You don't need to. And the other point was just around balance. For those of you that do struggle to open things, or if your bike veers off to one side when you're trying to let go of the handlebars. As often an asymmetry issue, then is a balance problem and something you need to go and see a bike fitter about. Maybe not me, but it definitely can be helped if you're struggling to stay balanced. It's a real thing. You can see it in people.
And I think sticking with balance, I think sometimes it can be the aspect of, obviously, if you're riding in this position, to let go of the bars, you need to sit up.
Yeah.
And again, if you're riding indoors, it's actually a good time to practice. Yeah. Just sitting up and not holding a handlebar.
Well, and just tenuously linking to bike fitting indoors as well. When you're out on the road, you're moving around a lot more and you're stopping at lights, you're going up hills, you're going down hills, your balance and your movement around the bike is a lot greater, so you're less likely to feel any of the issues because you're moving around. When you are on an indoor turbo, you are fixed in that position. Yes, you can sit up and we all do it because it can get boring. But if you are in that one position for a very long time, that can be where you can see some bike fit issues that you could avoid if you came and had a bike fit.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the important things. If you have had a bike fit, about making sure your measurements are the same on the indoor bike, because otherwise you're going to be screwing yourself over.
Definitely, and it's just worth considering. And yes, it's usually an older bike and it's on the indoor and you don't want to invest in it. But if you can transfer those measurements across and make sure that the setup's the same, then you'll just find that when you are out on the road as well, that you'll be in a better place, and things like balance and feeling comfortable and used to the position will just be a lot easier for you. So it's definitely worth making sure your indoor trainer is level, which is probably one of the most common things, and set up to be the same.
I'll make a point on that in another episode on training, about your turbo trainer being level.
Yes, yours isn't, is it?
Well, it is now, but no, like a reason of why it wouldn't be, but that's for another day.
I dread to think.
Teaser. Tilt training is why.
Well, yeah, and there's Wahoo make the kicker climb, and Elite make a thing that does the same thing. And training at different angles is really good too, because gravity still affects your body in the same way, even though you're not going up, you're not actually going up, but the effect gravity has on you, pulling you down, if the bike is elevated, is very similar to the position that you would be in if you were climbing a hill. So they can be really advantageous as well. They're very expensive, but if you're... Books help, but I mean...
You're always at a constant gradient.
Then you're stuck at that constant gradient, whereas I mean the actual changing gradient and getting used to the different positions.
I've done all my winter training last year.
On books?
Yeah, at an 8% incline.
Well,
which was weird when I was doing Zwift riding going downhill. And I'm like... but it's to activate different muscles. But that could be another episode. Yeah. Training and muscle activation.
What we can do, definitely.
Teaser.
Lots we can talk about muscle activation.
Yeah.
Absolutely loads. Thanks very much again for listening and watching. If there's anything that you think that we should cover, bits of tech, we might try and talk a bit more tech, get some bits of bikes.
I have a few guests.
You've got guests lined up already?
Yeah, they could. I think we've got 3.
Is it Jeff and his mates?
No. Jeff, Dave and Roger.
Jeff, Dave and Roger. And Brian. Jeff, Dave, Roger and Brian.
We'll just have all your helmet mannequins. We'll have an audience.
That is the one thing with Jeff, is he doesn't wear a helmet, and that's one thing I don't like, is people not wearing helmets.
He hasn't got his top hat on.
No, he doesn't wear his top hat today, because it's his first appearance, he wanted to look fresh.
Oh, well.
But thank you all so far for listening. If you have enjoyed any of today, then you're a braver person than I am. But please consider liking and subscribing to the channel and following Aidan on social media. What's your current?
King Aidan Cyclist.
King Aidan Cyclist on Instagram, where you will learn all about Aidan and his adventures and this podcast. Although we've not quite got to the point where we want a specific podcast Instagram just yet.
Not yet.
But we might do.
Yeah. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yeah,
so like and subscribe. Any suggestions, negatives, positives? I mean, hopefully this one's in focus. Last one wasn't. Aidan's bike was, which was great, but probably better to have your bike in focus than you or I. For anyone watching, and we'll get this on Spotify as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining us, and Yep, we've got some other cool stuff lined up too. We're going to go out, do some outside recording as well.
Yes.
Where we actually go out on our bikes.
When it's sunny.
Yeah, we might have to wait.
All right, when it's at least not raining.
When it's not raining, we're still going to have to wait. But yeah, we're going to do loads of different stuff. We're going to try and take you guys to Rouleur with us and involve you in our conversations.
If it carries on, I might try and we could do it virtually when I'm in France.
Could try to, via Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got loads of options.
Exciting times.
Very. But yeah, thank you all for paying attention. There will be a test. And yeah, leave any comments in the description, or in the comment section below. And thanks ever so much, and goodbye.